How are we doing, Huskers? As I come to you post game after Nebraska drops Rutgers 14-7, moves to 5-1 going into the bye week, a critical bye week before a rough stretch of games. Critical to get the win here today, and they did. It wasn't always pretty at times, but when you take into account this is a year two under Matt Rule, this team showed tremendous growth. We're going to talk about that here. Again, not always pretty at times, but it doesn't have to be. When the bottom line up front, and a team that hasn't found ways to win, a team that hasn't frankly been to a bowl game since 2016, and since that time finds a way to lose these exact games, found a way to win it today the same way they found a way to win it last week against Purdue. That's growth, guys, and that's what you want to see year two under Matt Rule. If you love this win, if you're happy about the direction of this program, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel so I can keep bringing you great content like this. Okay, it was well, okay. It was a hot October day, unseasonably warm in Lincoln. Temperatures in the upper 90s, guys. Windy days, over 100 degrees down there on the turf. And actually, Greg Schiano in his post-game press conference said, and all he's been coaching for a long time. He said in his whole career, he's never coached in conditions like this. He said he's played in a lot of tough games like this. Usually, it's like storm type conditions, but he said he's never been in this really, really hot, dry heat like they experienced today. So again, when we discuss everything in this game and the big picture of things, you got to keep that, in the forefront of your mind that heat, that wind, that takes a toll on both teams, guys. Okay, so but Nebraska found a way to win it. This is a Rutgers team that was led by Ethan Kalakmakis, the transfer from Minnesota, the same, quarterback that beat us last year, quite frankly, in a very similar fashion, that could have ended in this game. If you remember that game last year against Minnesota, we were winning 14-3 late in the game. Kalakmakis leads them down, gets that game-winning touchdown. He had the opportunity in this game to lead them down the field and to get that game-scoring touchdown to send it to overtime. And this time, Nebraska showed the growth. They stopped them. They got off the field. Guys, that's what we've been wanting to happen. That's what we've been looking for to happen, and we got it. So just number one, be happy with that. Be happy with the growth we saw today. All in all, Nebraska goes on, and therefore they went 14-7. They're 5-1. And look, guys, maybe it wasn't the prettiest at times, but you got to understand something. Nebraska has only won 5 games a handful of times since 2016. They've never won more than 5 games since 2016. Here we are going into our bye week, midway through the season, and we've already won 5. Okay, now we've got a rough couple games ahead of us, but if you can't see the growth in year two under this team, I encourage you to look just a little bit closer, okay? Now, the defense, obviously, star of the show on this, guys. Defense, by and far, star of the show today. And they've had some criticism this year to date. And, people have criticized the tackling. They've criticized, shutting down the run, being leaky in the pass pro. I've criticized a little bit at times, too. And today they put that all to bed. They came out and played like the black shirts that we love and that we're used to, and they dominated the game, frankly, from start to finish. And Matt Rule said in his post-game press conference that this team, this week leading up to this game, because they knew how physical Rutgers were, they knew that they had to stop Kyle Monangai, a future NFL running back. He is special, Kyle Monangai. They knew they had to stop him. He said that was the hardest that the defense has practiced in the 2 years he's been here. That's Matt Rule. He said it. I'll roll the clip here.
But our defense practiced harder this week than we have probably 2 years.
There it is. The hardest the defense has played or practiced leading up to a game in the 2 years that he's been here. That says a lot, by the way. But they played like it, right? What's interesting, too, is Matt Rule said, hey, obviously, Tony White runs that 3-3-5 scheme. He said, hey, today at times, Tony White played 5 down linemen and 2 jacks, So he said, hey, he's really got away a few times today. He really got away from a traditional 3-3-5. He got away from the 3-3-5 altogether at times because he did what it took to stop the run, to play a physical Big Ten game and win. And that's what we want, okay? That's what we want. And he did it, and that's what good coaches do, okay? The other stars, the stars on the defense today, well, before we get into that, the stars of the defense, number one, if you see the corner, I can't point, I can't figure this out. The TV behind me, I've got the Michigan and the the Michigan and the UC or the Michigan Washington game. Excuse me, it's tied right now. Fascinating. Michigan's playing another quarterback. They can't seem to figure out who the quarterback is this year. Very fascinating. But anyway, in the first half of or the first quarter of the game, Kyle Monangai was averaging 8 yards a carry. He had 64 yards in the first quarter alone. He gained like another 10 yards the rest of the game. It's incredible how they shut him down the rest of the game. And that defense just adjusted. Yeah, stars on the defense today. You had Sierra Wright. He just plays lights out every time he's out there on the field. He had that great interception, multiple, great pass breakups. He needs to be on the field, whether Tommy Hill is healthy or not. Sierra Wright needs to be on the field every damn down, in my opinion. He's that good. Um, and then you had James Williams, kind of a breakthrough game for defensive end. James Williams, a sophomore, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. I mean, he was a wrecking ball back there. Ty Robinson breaking through, the line multiple times. It was a good game for that defense, guys. Now, if I had to point out someone, I'm not trying to do that. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but I would be remiss if I didn't just point out and say, hey, look, Marquise Buford Jr., he's got to step it up. I don't know how else to say it. I try to, when I be critical of people, I try to picture like, what if they were to watch this? Would they agree with what I have to say? How would they take it? So I tried to keep that in my mind, but I would tell you, Marquise Buford Jr., if he was watching this, just, hey, we need you to step up. I mean, you got cooked a couple times against Indiana. You got cooked on a key play late in the game that gave Rutgers new life, that actually let him go down the field and score a touchdown. You gave up a touchdown later in that game. So there's positive things. He had some good pass breakups. He was in there quite a bit, but gotta stay focused throughout the whole game. All right, that's critical. That's what I would tell him. I'm sure that Tony White has the conversation with him, but I say that not to solely point out and criticize Marquise. I just say that to say, hey, if there's a way to see it right on the field, nonstop, even when Tommy Hill's completely healthy and he's on the field, um, maybe it's moving Marquise Buford um, around, or maybe it's moving him back to safety. Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's leaving Hartzog at safety and taking Marquise off the field sometimes. I don't know. But that's why I bring that up. All in all, excellent showing by the Black Shirts. Now, the offense today, kind of, offense has been a highlight most of the games this year. We've enjoyed watching an explosive offense under Dylan Raiola. It was a matter of time, guys. He played a freshman game today. No two ways about it. He'll grow. He'll move on. It's a continuum. That's what Matt Rule said as a freshman quarterback to learn. But he went 13 of 27, 134 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. So not great. The interception looked like an RPO. Bad read. Should have handed it off. Threw it. Never saw the linebacker who was standing right there. It is what it is. He's played great this year. He's a freshman. It's a learning moment. Now, we'll say today he seemed like just off. I don't know if it's the heat, the wind, the weather. He didn't seem like he had his normal swag, his confidence to him, and I don't know what it is. We're all allowed to have those days, and a bye week comes at a critical time for him to get right. So you saw him get frustrated at the end of the second half. Um, Taking off his helmet, about to throw it, super angry or whatever, and you see Matt Rule going into the halftime locker room with him, arm around his shoulder, kind of coaching him up, walking him in. I'm sure probably telling him, "Hey, you're the leader on this team. Keep your cool, keep your composure. We got this." It's just, guys. There's nothing. There's no story there. He's a freshman quarterback. Some people saying, maybe we should um, put in Harburg at quarterback, and I don't know. I get that there's a conversation there for the sake of a spark late in that game, but I just never felt like that was necessary. I mean, he's had one game where he's been a little bit off. You don't want to break his confidence or show that, hey, anytime you're not 100%, we're going to bench you. You don't want to show him that. So I just generally disagree with that take. I think he'll be fine after the bye week, okay? Now, as far as rushing goes, we didn't get a lot going on the ground. A little bit disappointing. I mean, 97 yards overall, guys. And I say disappointing because this is the same Rutgers team that last week gave up 207 yards to Washington on the ground. Okay, Dowdell and Emmett Johnson both got 14 carries. Dowdell made the most of it for 57 yards on his. Emmett got 33 on his. Ramir got 5 carries, but got 34 yards out of his. Now, in order to move the ball on the ground, Satterfield had to get creative, and he is creative. I mean, his play calling at times is very fun to watch. Um, he called the great, uh, because last week he kept calling that end around play on Purdue, uh, knowing that Rutgers would have studied that and been prepared for it. He had a counter move to it, a fake end around with a touch pass, or whatever you want to call it, little short pass to Ramir Johnson for a big game. I'll roll that clip down. Look at this. Outstanding, right? I mean, that's good play calling. That's ingenuity, and what Satterfield does is kind of what Andy Reid does at the Chiefs, right? So what Andy Reid does, this is not what a lot of coaches do, by the way. This is unusual, but what Andy Reid does with the Chiefs is he lets the players, Mahomes, the offense, he lets them during the practice during the week come up with their own plays, their own wrinkles, and they'll practice it. They'll try it out. If they like it, they'll call it in a game. Not a lot of teams do that. The Chiefs do that. You see them all the time with these cute, fancy little trick plays and stuff like that. And Satterfield does the same thing. He says they talk about it at practice. The guys come up with some wrinkles and stuff like that. They try them out to practice them. So hats off to him on that. Another play down the line where we get a touchdown with Janarian Bonner. Um, I just want to highlight Ja'Cory Barney Jr. on this. Outstanding perimeter blocking from a true freshman who is one of the smaller guys on that offense, just holding his own and paving the way for this Janarian Bonner touchdown. Look at this. So that's incredible. Coming from a true freshman, that perimeter blocking, great play from Satterfield and Janarian Bonner to get that touchdown. Uh, we also saw Micah Mazuka a few times today, guys. Now, uh, he was more in the heavy packages late when we went for it on fourth down. We went for it on the goal line. He was in there for those, but he did see some action. That's good. He's out there. He's playing. Whatever he's going through, he'll if he ends up beating out Latoski in the future for the starting role, he does. If he doesn't, I'm just glad that he's still on the team and he's moving forward with things. Okay. Shiano in his post game press conference called his second half defense suffocating. I tend to agree with that. It looked like it. We scored no points in the second half. Rule said post game that Shiano had some very unique defensive looks, and he called it, and I quote, at times confusing. So if it's confusing to Rule, you got to be sure that it's confusing to freshman quarterback Dylan Rail. I don't care how smart and clever he is and skilled he is, because he is those things. He's still freshman, and if it's confusing to Rule, who's been in this game for a long time, that explains a little bit of the hiccups on offense today. Um, you taking the heat and the win and all that. It's not a big deal, guys. We find ways. Good teams find ways to win. Okay, that's what we did. Last, I don't even like to talk about this. Talk about the special teams real quick. Now, I see all the things. Got a little bit of debates with a couple people on X or Twitter or whatever. I know all you guys want to fire Ed Foley tomorrow, but I just tell you, Matt Rule, to me, I could be wrong. It doesn't strike me as a coordinator mid-season kind of guy. He just doesn't seem like he's going to pull that move, guys. So will Foley be fired in the offseason? I don't know. I would say there's a discussion and an argument to be made for that. But um, all told, I mean, they got a bye week, and what they need to focus on the bye week is the special teams. And special teams need special attention during this bye week. They didn't get to see any field goals today. They made their 2 extra points, but they had the two punt blocked. Two punts were blocked. Bushini was absolutely leveled on one. Seemed to be favoring his back or his hip the rest of the game. But got to mention the good stuff too. Not a lot of people online didn't like me mentioning the good stuff, because you guys just want to crucify the guy. And again, I'm not saying that these good things make up for what else the special teams has done this year, but you got to give credit where credit's due. And look, they snuffed out a fake field goal early on. Great stop there. Later on, they went on to have a fake punt that Bushini threw for 31 yards to Banks. Rule said they practiced that all week. They knew they were going to call it. So that's special teams. That's what they're practicing on. Although, I don't know how practices work and how much time's allotted. It worked for us and it helped us win this game, so maybe I should just shut up. But maybe that time should be spent on blocking for punts and holding the ball for field goals. But we won, and it helped us win. So enough said there, I guess. Um, Bushini had two punts too. He went into this game averaging 34 yards a punt on the season. Some of that was a lot of games so far we've punted in short fields. inside the 50, just because we can't make field goals. So he's averaged 34 yards a punt so far, but today he knocked a 61 yarder and a 69 yarder, flipping the fields. So those are the positives. Let's end on that. Let me know how you feel going 5-1 into the bye week in the comments below. Again, if you love that we're 5-1, some of the Frost never did, by the way. If you love that we're 5-1 going into the bye week, smash that like, smash that subscribe, and go Big Red.